Hi, Pixie. I just gonna wait for a few other people to join. I was listening to that live just then, and that was really ridiculous. So I thought I'd catch up with you. Thank you. I'm not sure how long I'm going to be able to talk for, but that live was just really horrendous and ridiculous. I'm just going to share this with a few people. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah, because they were talking about the lady who's been sleeping with 1,000 men, and they're blaming her for young kids trying to apparently do the same, and that it was irresponsible and almost like grooming. And I was like, no. Are you all right to... I might just send you an invite if that's all right. Hold on.
Hello.
Hello, how are you?
Yeah, I'm all right. That live was just ridiculous. I've never heard such waffle in all my life.
Oh, I only heard about a minute of it, and I was like, oh my God, that is just...
Well, the guy that was hosting it was trying to compare her sleeping with 1,000 men to the same as what's happening. Why there's grooming gangs? Like it's women like this is what causes grooming gangs. That's basically what they were saying. And I was basically saying, why is it anybody's business who she sleeps with or how many people she sleeps with? Oh, because young girls will look up to this. And I was like, no, it starts at home. My daughter, if I have a daughter, there's no way that she'd go out and do that when she's older, because I'd be teaching her right from wrong. And I'd be teaching her that these are not the people that you should be following. You should be following yourself and what is best for you.
Exactly. It's like, I mean, whatever she wants to do, as long as she's consenting and no one's forcing her, nobody has the right to say anything. You know what I mean? It might not be healthy, and all that sort of stuff. People can say that to her and she can accept it or reject it, but it's her friggin' life. And there's always this thing about demonizing women for being proud to enjoy sex and take control of it and stuff like that. It's... Oh my freaking God.
To be fair, I didn't actually go up for that. I went up for the G gang topic because they were putting the white G gangs up there, and I was thinking there's a difference here. The difference is YT G gangs. As soon as they're found out, they're put in prison straight away. Right. The difference is that and I'm going to say Islamic G gangs, it was ignored for years and years and allowed to go on because the fear of racism, for being called racist. And I think that's disgusting. It shouldn't matter of what colour you are. It matters on what you've been doing.
Exactly. I mean, I am just so lost for words at the moment because this is all so friggin' infuriating. I think Sam did a live the other day, and I was having a really bad day anyway, and that she just really helped me through that. I know she's listening in, but she really helped me through that, because without getting too triggering, when I was younger, something similar happened to me, and it's just been so triggering, the whole thing. So when I heard Sam's live and the way she handled it, and because she was talking about a white supremacist who would unalived an asylum seeker, and she was saying that nobody's calling that out. But they should be. Everybody should be called out exactly the same friggin' way, but people aren't. And it's absolutely insane. But yeah, I just wanted to talk to you more than anything because I could really hear how frustrated you were, and I was wanting to scream with you. You know what I mean? So
I was getting so frustrated, and that Sal's. Like I was a friend, and I agreed with some things that she said in the past. But this live, I don't know what she was thinking, because at the end of the day, you can't correlate the two. You can't agree and say that, oh well, she's put it out there. It's everyone's business. Everyone could judge it, and she was calling her a slut. Do you know what I
oh,
mean?
for God's sake.
And I was just like, what business of any of yours is it to judge? If she feels liberated by that, let her get on with it. It's not affecting your life.
Exactly.
Except for the G gangs, affects everybody because it can happen to anybody.
Exactly. And there's so much cover up of it and so many freaking excuses. And these guys are still held as heroes in their own community. Actually, what I might do is I know I did a live a few months ago about the unalivings, and there was a book that I was reading called. Well, I'll see if I can find it. If you just bear with me, but there was this chapter in the book of No Safe Place. So, and the lady who wrote it, she is Banas Mahmood's older sister, and she struggled to get people to understand just how bad women are treated and girls are treated in the Islamic community. Nobody believed her or could grasp it. And in the book, I don't think I'll be able to find it now, but she talks about how women would make excuses and hail the unalivers, the murderers, as heroes.
Wow.
That's how fucking insane it is.
It is, isn't it? Sorry, Veiled Rose, do you want to change the layout so people can see the comments?
Yeah, sorry.
It's all right. I just thought that maybe people are leaving because they can't see the
Yeah,
comments.
sure. I
Yeah.
hadn't thought of that. Hold on a second. So in background. Right. Okay. Yeah, I might leave it at that for now. Yeah. Yeah, no, it's just me. I'm just so stressed out and triggered by all of this. And yeah, I'm not too worried about the live research. I just wanted to more talk to you really, and check in with you as well. Because I know you mentioned something similar a few months ago that, you'd been, you've had history as well. So without going into it, we don't want to talk about it.
I mean, it's frustrating. It's frustrating to hear, like, comparing the two, and and the fact that they actually stopped talking about the G gangs and went on to this woman who slept with 1,000 men. I mean, who cares? Who cares about that?
Oh, it's ridiculous though, isn't it? I mean, the woman is like fully functioning adult, and the G gangs are like young kids who are so friggin' vulnerable and undermined. And yeah, I've worked with women who were SA'd when they were younger, as kids and stuff like that. And it's hard enough as a grown woman to seek justice and speak about it, but to try and do it as young kids, it's even more difficult and horrendous because the words aren't there, and there's so much blame on you as a female, and their conversation showed that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because they were blaming her and shaming her, and
It was, yeah, it was just crazy. And I'll answer Kufar in the comments, because yeah, that Bonnie hasn't done anything illegal, but the live that I was just on and Veiled Rose was in there. I think Veiled Rose only caught like the back end of it. Basically, they were comparing that this woman who slept with 1,000 men is the reason why we have G gangs. I'm
Yeah.
not joking either. And I was like, you can't even correlate the two. They've got nothing to do with each other. What the? What?
Exactly. It was a bizarre conversation. I only heard 2 minutes of it and I had a hissy fit, so I had to leave.
Yeah.
But
I
you
mean,
did so bloody well. You were really holding your own and you were keeping your cool and everything. Uh, I was really proud of how you were managing it. Yeah.
well, I mean, there's no other way to manage these people with no brains, to be fair. Other than if you let me finish like half a sentence, you'd actually hear what I'm going to say. But for them to call me an idiot, I was just like, really? And I'm sat with a bunch of people who agree that this correlates to G gangs, what she's doing. And I'm just like, and I'm the one that's an idiot, really?
Oh, but when they were saying, what would you do if your daughter went there? And and what about girls without mothers? I'm like, well, schools and education and families and us as a society should talk about healthy sexual consent. Uh,
Exactly. And this is what I said. I said it starts at home, and then there was like, well, what if they're in care? I said, well, then that is down to the system. The system should also be teaching these young girls right from wrong. Regardless, they also have a responsibility over these girls to teach them. And when they're adults, whatever decision they make is their decision to make. You can't blame. You know what I mean? You can't blame some woman who's put in the newspaper that she'd slept with 1,000 men for being somebody's idol. Like, no, you teach your kids that this is not what you strive to be when you're older. You strive to be successful. A doctor, a lawyer, all these kind of things.
oh,
You explain
exactly.
why. Like, it's
But
not rocket
also,
science.
yeah, and no, I mean that's the whole point. You should teach our kids not to put anyone on a pedestal and question things for themselves.
Hmm.
But yeah, it's really frustrating,
Oh,
because
absolutely.
yeah, they're not supposed, just because a lady's in the news, it doesn't mean she has to be a role model. You know what I mean? We can have that conversation with our kids, like you were saying. Uh,
And what all they're teaching people from that live is that basically you're just shaming women. All you're doing is shaming a woman for feeling liberated, and
exactly.
that's disgusting in my eyes. Why? How does her sleeping with 1,000 men damage their lives in any way? And they were saying, well, she'll have prolapses, and I was like, well, why is that your business?
Yeah, she's gonna have to deal with the consequences of things that she does with consent. You know what I mean? It's
Exactly,
yeah.
exactly. And I just think this nowadays there's too many people in other people's businesses, and actually instead of actually focusing on the real issues that are going on, there's too many people involved in individual lives rather than dealing with big issues such as G gangs, tea attacks, wars. You know what I
Absolutely.
mean?
Yeah, that was the other thing that has just been making me go a bit berserk because I don't know if you heard earlier, Keir Starmer made a speech about the Southport attack,
Oh,
and yeah, I mean, it's only what last week he was saying not to talk about the G gangs because it's a far right talking point and it gives them like support and stuff like that and plays into their hands.
yeah.
And today I don't know, it was a bit of a U-turn because a part of his speech was saying something along the lines of, we'll have to investigate and everybody and whatever comes out, we have to face it no matter what the cultural or whatever sensitivities are. I'm like, about fucking time that you say something,
He was forced into that though. He's been pushed into saying that.
exactly.
It's not like he's gone and done that off his own back. He's been pushed into it. And let's be honest, Keir Starmer is a PDF sympathiser anyway.
Absolutely.
So
Exactly.
I can't stand him as a person. I really can't. He defended Jimmy Savile. He's probably defended other PDFs.
Exactly.
And now, like PDS and that don't get long sentences. Most of them actually get bailed, and end up being on tag. Whereas somebody who wrote an offensive post on Facebook got like 3 years. That's what's disgusting to me. And the fact that he released actual criminals, real life criminals that can cause actual damage early to jail people for putting an offensive post on Facebook, just it baffles my mind. It really baffles my mind.
But the Southport attacker, he was on the prevent watch list. He was in their orbit at least 3 times, so they knew he was dangerous, but they just didn't think he was dangerous enough to bother with.
Oh my
And
god.
yeah, it's just unbelievable. But
Well, the only good thing to come out of this trial is the fact that he's pleaded guilty, and those poor families don't have to go through the trauma of a trial.
yeah, that is something.
Yeah, that's the only good outcome of this, that he actually finally pleaded guilty, and that they don't have to suffer listening to him, or watching his face as he tells lies or doesn't want to answer. And because it can be frustrating when you're in a court, sort of listening to them get away with it, and them just smirking, and yeah, you just want to reach over and punch him in the face, if I'm honest.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, because I remember when I was listening to Keir Starmer's speech, he was like, we've gone from the dangers being Al Qaeda and, organized groups to lone wolves in their bedrooms. I'm like, no, it's part of the same issue. You know what I mean? Who's putting out the information out there to make it, you'll turn people into incels and stuff like that. It's all part of the same frigging issue. High profit be yourself and everyone else who's here. Yeah, it was still this refusal to acknowledge the sort of like the Islamist threat, just saying it's just individuals in their bedrooms doing stuff.
Exactly. Hi, Kufa.
Hi. Hi Sam.
Good afternoon. How are you?
I'm all right. How are you?
Oh, still got this cold.
Oh no. I'm sorry. Hopefully you're being able to rest and that.
No chance. I've been at work this morning.
Oh no.
So, got to be done. But yeah, I kind of seen that live picture that you were in. But I couldn't, I was busy. But anyway, I don't understand though how they've tried to tie in a corn worker, and that's what she does. That's what the industry is. That's what she does. She works in that industry. But then to correlate that to the G gangs, it's like a cop out, and it's a very bad cop out that they're trying to use.
Absolutely.
But I'm quite surprised that people are trying to tie them two in together between legally consenting adults. Whether you like to think it's wrong, whatever. I mean, has she done anything illegal? No, she's not. Is it a morality thing? Well, yeah, but that's neither up to us. That's what she wants to do. That's what she wants to do in life. Who are we to say how she should live her life?
Oh, exactly.
I mean, but that's what they were saying on that live, like, because I was saying, well, it's not anybody's business, and I was like, yeah, but young girls look up to her. I was like, yeah, but you teach these young girls wrong from right, and you teach.
I'll be honest, Pixie, right? I didn't know who she was until all this came out. I never had a clue who this woman was.
No, neither did I.
About the whole that she wants to do this big massive lineup. I never knew who she was. So for young girls looking up to her, then I'm sorry, but if us as adults on an app like this, and you go into different debates and topics, I only knew about her. With the thing, I didn't know anything else about her beforehand.
No, neither did I. Obviously, I saw that article like briefly. I mean, I wasn't interested enough to go in and read it, to be honest with you. But
again, who's going to be looking up to her?
Exactly. I mean, the only way that these people would find out about this woman is if they went on corn websites. Do you know what I mean? And
Absolutely.
Why on it?
Unless they were already interested in stuff like that. Yeah.
Well,
But yeah, it's just the excuses that people use. It's like you can't be saying, "Oh, people look up to her, young ones look up to her." Well, why are young ones on corn sites watching what she does to even look up to her?
exactly. But like, I just went up because I was interested in the G gang article that he had up, because they were saying about white G gangs, and then he changed it to that 1,000 women, and then tried correlating the two. And I put him in his place. I was like, they've got nothing to do with each other. And I said, it's an insult to even compare that. I said, it's disgusting that you would. But I really wanted to say that the difference between white G gangs and Islamic G gangs is the fact that when it's a white G gang, they get put away as soon as they're found, and for many years. When it's Islamic, what they do is they ignore it for years, allow it to happen even though they know it's happening because of fear of being called racist. There's the difference.
Absolutely. And also, I think with white G gangs, they're just doing it because they're like nasty pieces of work. But with Islamic ones, they think they've got a right over these girls. You know what I mean? I can imagine the white G gangs probably know they're doing wrong, but I can imagine the Islamic ones think it's their right, and they're not doing anything wrong at all because, you know, it's not that different to having smex with war captives or whatever, you know, or having a young wife or something like that. To them, it's just fine. And what does it matter? But like I was saying in another live and in one of the videos I did, in Pakistan, young girls from minority backgrounds, like other like Hindus and Christians and that, they're abducted and married and sort of like married to older men and forced to convert and stuff like that. And the families of those young girls have no sort of like ability to get any justice and to get their daughters back because these Islamic clerics like practically run the law over there, and there's almost celebrities and stuff like that. And so you're talking about the similar Pakistani men here who have got that sort of mindset, who think girls and women and the world is their fucking oyster to do whatever the fuck they like. Everyone's gone quiet.
No, we're just listening.
I'm just listening. My tumble dryer's rumbling in the background, so I'll just put myself on mute.
Yeah, no, okay. We're listening, don't worry.
Oh, no, that's fine. Yeah, it's just ridiculous, but it really does make me sad because I've heard women make excuses for them and stuff like that as well. When men do shit like that, they just sort of like say, "Oh well, men will be men." It's not exactly the same, but you know when we're catcalled as women and harassed and stuff like that, and it's so common for people to turn around and say, well, yeah, it's just a bloke being a bloke. I know it's not on the same level, but there is like real blatant misogyny where men are just held to a different standard for everything. But yeah, the whole thing's just making me so sick and angry at the moment.
Well, I agree with what you've just said because men are held to a different standard. Like if a man slept with 1,000 women, he'd be given a pat on the back and his mates would be
absolutely.
Men are held to a different standard. Like if a man slept with 1,000 women, he'd be given a pat on the back and his mates would be
absolutely
hold women to a different standard. Like,
I think I think there was a Channel 4 documentary years ago, like literally years ago, and there was this lady who did a blog when the internet first came out. This is how old I am. And she was talking about how she's obsessed with sex and smex, sorry, and she really enjoys smex and stuff like that. And she did it all under a pseudonym, so, you know, to keep her privacy. But it was a bit like Sex and the City blog. But you know, she was really sex positive and stuff like that, and the amount of hate she got for being so open and called you know, shamed for it and stuff like that, and people trying to find out who she was. I'll have to see if I can find out. They probably, if I did a Google search, eventually I'll probably find the documentary. But I think it was the Daily Mail who eventually found out who she was, and her identity was exposed. And it was really hard for her to thingy, because it just led to even more hate and harassment and stuff like that. Yeah, it's just really, really not right, is it?
Not at all. No,
Not
no.
at all.
In today's society, really, does it matter whether a woman slept with how many men? Does it matter if a man slept with how many women? It really doesn't matter at the end of the day. And that's what I mean, that people are too busy in other people's business and not focuses on the actual issues, or trying to correlate things to actual issues which don't go together whatsoever. It's got nothing
Yeah,
to do with it. You know, there's sick people in the world that create these G gangs because they get some
absolutely.
sick satisfaction out of it, and also money is another factor, which is
Yeah,
absolutely disgusting. But if anybody's ever been on the dark web, you'll know that there is some really sick things out there, like some really, really sick things that people are willing to do. And in my own head, I can't comprehend how they would think like that, but we do have some psychopaths in the world that just don't have any sort of empathy or feelings for people. And I think a lot of these G gangs they probably are full of psychopaths.
The thing as well, though, Pixie, with the G gangs, they went for minors, they went for children under the age of consent.
absolutely.
There's a massive difference there. These G gangs went for children, they went for vulnerable kids. Whereas if you were to go and do a lineup of 1,000 guys at a door on a I don't even know what that was, like a bench thing, then do you know what? Crack on, love. See, as long as you're not doing anything illegal, battle on. If that's what you want to do, yeah, wish you well. Make sure you've got plenty of KY jelly because you're going to need it. But but the G gangs with minors, that's a different level altogether. And people need to stop trying to go like, oh, they weren't that bad, and yeah, they need to stop it and call it out for what it is.
Absolutely. And yeah, because the other thing I've seen as well is the odd TikTok live, where these, I think they're probably Muslims, and they're trying to change the topic, and because they're talking about YG gangs, which is fair enough, but they're trying to say, oh look, well, it's not just us that has a problem, everyone has. And like, we're not denying that. The fact is that these these Pakistani ones are let off because of the Islamic culture in the Pakistani community, and also the fact that everybody tiptoes around Muslims and Islam because, oh God forbid that their feelings are hurt. I mean, if you look at the fact that, when because the Charlie Hebdo attack happened 10 years ago this month, and with the Charlie Hebdo cartoons and things like that, there was protests across the whole freaking world about the Muhammad cartoons, and this man is frigging dead 1400 years ago, and they're still protesting and getting upset if his feelings are hurt even though he's dead, unalived or whatever, passed away. But the same issue with these young girls being sexually abused and that, and raped and stuff like that, in the UK, they're not fucking upset. And the same happens in the, like how in the in the Christian church, that the priests and stuff like that have great young children. The same has happened in our Pakistani madrasas, you know what I mean, in our mosques in Pakistan, and it's been filmed and stuff like that, undercover filmed and stuff like that, and the Pakistani community have not had even an iota bit of anger about that, compared to how angry they get over a Salman Rushdie book or a friggin' cartoon. That shows the friggin' disgusting.
But do you know though, Veil, that I don't understand is that you've got these people, right, that are trying to deflect and trying to take it away from the Pakistani community or the Muslim community, and they'll happily put up, I don't know, like the church. Now I call out the church all the time. If you're going to call one out, you've got to call them all out.
Oh, exactly, yeah.
But what they'll do though is that when I do lives about Bazi, no, it's cultural. We don't do that. They trip over themselves to make excuses and to make a pass for it. But yet they'll be happy to call out a white grooming gang or whatever. But the minute we say, well, what about Bazi that is now leaving Afghanistan and it's now spreading towards Pakistan? What are you saying about that?
Oh, thank you. I haven't seen your lives on Bazi. You tell me a bit more about what you cover on that.
So there was a documentary. I'm trying to think I think the documentary's on YouTube. I think it is. And you actually see this guy, and he's driving a bit. In fact, I think Voice of Reason's actually got it on his account. And they're basically looking for boys. But yeah, the whole Bazi thing, it's they're dancing boys, and what they're doing is they're learning how to dance like women in front of these grown men circled round about them. And eventually these boys, when these boys grow up, they're basically left, they're abandoned, they're kicked out or whatever, and then they go and look for new ones. And the minute they get to a certain age where they don't look like young and you can say kind of feminine type looking boys, but the minute they start looking masculine and they start going into puberty, and then obviously the damage has been done with them. They've been raped or they've been abused in the most horrific ways. But yeah, Bazi is disgusting.
I knew about this when I was younger. My mum taught me about the dancing boys, and I thought it was disgusting even as a child.
Yeah, that's the thing though, isn't it? Even as kids, we can know from our own instincts what is right and wrong though, isn't it? I mean, yeah, I didn't know of this, that to be honest. That's why I was asking you to elaborate. I had no idea. This is one of the first times I've heard about it, and it's
prominent, and it's prominent. It's prominent in Afghanistan. I can't even speak properly. It's big in Afghanistan, and they're starting to kind of spread it out into Pakistan as well. But they're trying to say, it's cultural, but your cultural comes off your belief. Your culture, for a thing to become cultural, it has to have happened for many, many years to go through different generations in life to become a culture. You don't just wake up one morning and you do something for 6 months and that becomes cultural. No, it has to be through many, many generations, and it has to be practiced for many, many, many years. I would even go back and say for a good couple of 100 years for it to become a part of your today's culture. So then, if that is the case, how many boys are they saying then, if they're saying it's culture, how many boys have went through this horrific abuse? How many parents have sold their boys for them to go through this?
Oh,
it should be there, darling.
That is just, I mean, it's horrendous, isn't it? I mean, nobody should be.
And these boys, though, these boys are the little boys. They're as young as 4 years old. 4 years old. And they get put into the long thobe dresses, and they get taught how to shake their bums, and you've got these grown men round about them and like watching them dance and grind, and it's disgusting.
Oh, I feel sick. I had no idea about this.
Yeah, Bacha Bazi it's called. I'll send you some links. I might actually do a live on it tonight to say how is it you're going to call out this, but nobody's going to call out Bacha Bazi because my daughter's away tonight to her dad's. So I might just do a live about it tonight.
Yeah. Yeah, if you do, make sure you're looking after yourself as well. I hope you've got Lemsip in and stuff like that.
Oh, I just take that. I don't see Lemsips and all that. I don't believe in them because it's just I don't know, commercial BS. Take some paracetamol, plenty of fluid, you'll be fine.
Oh, okay. I just like the taste of Lemsip. I'm weird, so what can I say? Yeah. Oh, that is just horrendous, though. Because I know about things like, young kids in like the poorer countries have it being hacked to pieces to be sent out begging and stuff like that, and trafficking and stuff. But I've not heard of that. Is just making me feel
Yes,
really.
if you see Voice or Mark, they know a lot about it as well. I think I've heard them. I'm sure I've heard them both speak about it actually. But yeah, I'll try and I'll get stuff together and I'll do a live about it tonight.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Oh, it's really disgusting how young kids are sexualized, though. I mean, and then to go through that, and that will be not just a one-off thing. That would be oh.
Yeah, it's disgusting, honestly. What you want? You want a banana? Wait, hold on then.
The documentary that I saw is pretty disturbing, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
It's disgusting.
Oh, how
This is what I'm saying,
horrendous.
though. I mean, for people to say, "Oh, it's culture," it's culture. So how long has this practice been done then for it to become a part of culture?
Exactly. And just I don't know. But what so what if it is culture, or not culture, or whatever it is, you still fucking call it out, and you still want to stamp it out and do everything you can to stamp it out no matter what it is. Yeah, it's like whenever we talk about anything that is related to the Pakistani, like Islamic culture, people are like, oh, well, it's not our problem because it's only culture.
I think
They don't even put forward any way of trying to put it right or anything.
But I think the problem that they have is that if they call it out, they're going against their own profit, and they know it.
Yeah.
And so that's obviously against Islam, and they'll be among the kuffar.
Yeah, well, they should join us, shouldn't they?
I don't think Bacha Bazi is actually in the Quran, to be honest, or anything to do with it.
No.
No, but you know what I mean with children. If you know what I mean with children and whatnot. But if they call this kind of thing out, they feel like they're going against their profit or whatever.
Yeah.
So, yeah, obviously I don't agree with any of that BS. I mean, I just think it's an excuse not to call it out, to be fair.
Yeah. No. Profit be yourselves on here. I know it's not the same thing, but profit be yourself. She's been on videos where she's tagged me and stuff like that, and there's these young girls in burqas in the like full niqab where you can't see their eyes and stuff, and the opposite side of completely making little girls who are like toddlers invisible, and that is just, I mean, you can't compare the two, but it's still really horrendous to see. And I remember a few years ago, saw this video of this girl in Iran. She must have been about 3-4 years old, and she was being forced to wear the whole black abaya with the face covering and everything else, and she was really hating it. She was really distressed by having to wear it. And it's just like, why don't you just let children be children and stop sexualizing them and stuff like that? And if somebody is going to be a PDF and like be eyeing them up, that is their problem, and you knock them out. You don't cover up your child as a response to that. But yeah, profit be yourself. I just remember like seeing how angry you were, and just rightly so, about those young girls. So they were barely able to walk. They were that young, being put in these black shrouds almost. It was horrible. I can't even imagine how bad that must be. Yeah, because I remember when I lived with my parents, and this is one of the few good things I'll ever say about my dad. There's probably about 2 good things, because he is a real misogynist. But one of the good things, one of the proud moments I've got is when we had a Pakistani family move into our street where we lived, and there was this 8-year-old girl in a full niqab, and and my dad was furious. He was absolutely disgusted. And he was like, she's an 8-year-old kid. What the hell is she doing in a niqab and fully donned like that? He couldn't comprehend it. And that was a really proud moment, because he is a real misogynist and stuff like that. But when it came to that, he drew the line, and he's never, it's a low bar. He's put me through a lot because of his Islamic misogynist stuff. But one of the things that he's never made me do is wear a hijab and stuff like that. But there's been plenty of comments about, why don't you dress more modestly, or you should wear the hijab and stuff like that. But he's never made me do it. But then I think it's sort of like, since the age of like 6, I think I've always questioned everything, and if I didn't like it or thought it was ridiculous, I just wouldn't do it. So there is that as well. But one of the few proud moments was when he was cursing this family for putting the niqab and the full abaya on this 8-year-old girl. So yeah, that was something. The other thing I found out about because my dad's never really spoken to me, but he gets on with my little sister like a house on fire. But one of the other things that I found out was that in the 70s, he used to take part in the race protests, anti-racism protests, and he was actually arrested for being part of the protests. So yeah, 2 things I'm proud of my dad for, but there's plenty that I'm not. But yeah, it was just, yeah.
Do you know
My
what I don't understand, Veiled, right, is they go on about the modesty of women on earth, right, and how they've got to be more modestly dressed, and the Western women are so loose, and the Western women need to do this, that, and whatever. But yet you've got your women covered head to toe. Can't even see anything. Do you know what I mean? Look at the women in Afghanistan. I think it's absolutely disgusting. But if you choose to wear that, then you're choosing to wear that. But when you're forced to wear something, that's when I've got an issue. But to me, when they go to Johanna, right? And this is the bit that really does get me, right? So on earth, women have got to be modest. Their voices are aura. It's all. Do you know what I mean? Wrap up your women, and I think it's wrap up your women like sweeties or something.
Oh yeah,
The
Candy.
minute they get up there, it's the women are bare breasted. They're no older than 38. They've got white skin and blue eyes, and you can hump all day. And it's like, what?
Oh, it's so tragic. But that's the other thing. In heaven, you can have all these things like wine and I don't know what else, and smecks as much as you like, with 72 women if you're a man, and wine flowing everywhere and whatever else. So if it's that good, why don't we just have it on on earth? It can't be surely that bad if that is what you're sacrificing your life for and it's a reward. Where does it make any sense? Yeah.
Listen, it doesn't. This is what I'm saying. In heaven, men walk around with constant wood, and it's like that sounds like my idea of hell. To be perfectly honest, do you know what I mean? It's like, listen, no thanks.
Yeah, there's this one bit, I won't be able to find it for love nor money, but there's this one sentence in one of the hadiths where it's like he has a full hard on for 40 years. Where
I know a man that might have it. I know a man that might have it. Voice of reason, do you have that hadith? If there's one man on here that will have it, it'll be Voice.
Oh.
We need that.
Yeah, I don't know how people. Yeah, I am. Hats off to Voice. I have no idea. I just saw it on this YouTuber called Harris Sultan. He did it. He covered it in one of his live sessions on YouTube years ago, where he was reading out one of the hadiths, and part of the hadith, I believe it was the hadith that said that Muhammad promised that people would be able to have a hard-on for a whole 40 years. That would last 40 years. So yeah, but Sam, apparently, I don't think Voice can find it, but It doesn't mean it's not there. I saw it. I'll have to see if I can find the clip. But some of the crazy
Listen,
stuff.
you give that man 5 minutes and he'll have you the hadith, who wrote it, what the person's name was, what you had for breakfast this morning.
I'm sure Razad would know as well. But while some of you guys are here, on the 1st of February, there's the No Hijab Day. And it's in response to World Hijab Day, which is on the 1st of February as well. But the No Hijab Day, we're calling out the harms of the hijab and modesty culture and how it's connected to toxic modesty culture and slut shaming and all that lot. But I'm just wanting to ask if especially ex-Muslim women who have got rid of their hijabs, if they want to just promote it on their platforms and just talk about it and what it means to be free from hijab. We're trying to get things like free from hijab trending. I'll try and do a quick video on it just to get it out there as well. But free from hijab, hashtag free from hijab, and hashtag not my choice. But we're also asking blokes if they will wear the hijab for a little while just to show how ridiculous it is. Thank you, Sam. But yeah, it would be really good. And one of the organisations that I'm doing it with is called Ex-Muslims International. So I've helped them write a statement for it. But it was so frustrating doing the research for the statement because I was watching all these videos about Hijab Day and No Hijab Day. Yeah, that'd be great. What it means to be free, because I've never really had to wear one either, and I'm not going to lie about that. But I'm not going to not say anything because I know there are plenty of women who have been forced to wear it and are being forced to wear it who can't speak out. So, I just see it as something I have to do. But yeah, hi, Gabola. It's lovely to see you here. But yeah, so yeah, when I was researching it, the lady who called for it, called for the World Hijab Day, is actually an American Bangladeshi lady, Muslim Bangladeshi lady, and it's celebrated in 150 fucking countries. People, apparently Islamophobia is a thing, and yet hijab is celebrated in 150 countries, including the US, where it started out. And people have got the gall to say that Muslims are like a persecuted majority or minority, what you say. Don't get me wrong, there is hate, there is Muslim, xenophobia and bigotry towards Muslims, but the fact that there's that much support. Oh, that was ridiculous. The hijab statue in Birmingham, absolutely fucking ridiculous. They might as well have had a statue of a chastity belt or a woman with the scold's bridle, because in the past they used to have, in Christian lands, they used to have this clamp thing that they used to put on women to clamp women's faces shut, just to keep them in line because they were being outspoken and stuff like that. They might as well have put the scold's bridle or the chastity belts out there instead. Absolutely. This was not, I think it was not long after Mahsa Amini had been unalived. It was horrendous to see that. But yeah, the whole thing, the Birmingham statue of the hijab, is just so disgusting. But there's all this celebration of the hijab, and yet it is such a it's not just a piece of cloth. It's full of fear and threats and stuff like that. I've never been told this, but people like Zara Kay and some of the other women, ex-Muslim women that I've talked to, they were told that when they were younger, they were told that if they didn't wear their hijab, for every piece of hair, every string of hair that is shown on the day of judgment, they will be hung from that piece of hair. Each strand of hair, they'd be hung from it. And people probably on here, definitely Voice of Reason will know what am I talking about. But you know, people will know why it was introduced in the first place, because it was to distinguish between believing women and non-believe, and slave women. So believing women wouldn't be harassed. I mean, why should any women be harassed, and why should there be fucking slaves? It's friggin' ridiculous. But also it was so that because one night one of the prophet's wives went to relieve herself outdoors because, you know, Muhammad and his words from God didn't have anything, you know, there was no communications about how to make sanitary situations for people any better, and how to set up anything decent for, you know, bathrooms and stuff like that. Nothing useful in the messages from Allah. It was just about how to keep a Smex slave, and how to keep your women in line. But thinking anyway, the wife was out relieving herself, and one of Muhammad's friends saw her, and they're like, I recognized your wife, mate, while she was taking a dump, and you know, you better cover her up so people don't recognize her when she's out taking a dump. And that's more or less how the hijab started in the first place. And so it's, what can I say? And there's so much hypocrisy about it. I only found out this a few years ago, but the not like slave women and children, they're not allowed to cover their chests. And so I've seen this image of this slave owner sitting next to eating while one of his slaves is uncovered, and he insisted that the slave child stayed uncovered. And I just remember a few years ago when I first found out about slavery in Islam, I was like, and just how much it was messed up and how obsessed the Muslims, you know, Islamists back then and Muslims back then were obsessed with nudity of, you know, young girls and stuff like that. And it just broke me. I was like, how can this be? I think it was Umar or Uthman, one of the founders of Islam, one of the big guns. He was at a slave market. There's reports of him being at a slave market and touching up slave girls to see if they were ripe or not. I mean, if this is in our books, this is a sort of thing that has crept into our societies. Of course, we're going to have deranged sexual habits now, and thinking in our societies now. This is our inheritance, people. It's not much better in Christianity, but you know, at least Christianity has been challenged and it's weakened now. But yeah, I was like, yeah, it's so. Oh, the world is really messed up. No, thank you, Sam, so much. I really appreciated your live the other day because I was having a really, really fucked up, messed up day, and I was really struggling with everything, and it really helped. So, I love you to bits, and I really appreciate your voice and everything.
But yeah, take care of yourself. Be in the comments.
Mum.
Right, say bye.
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 Don't subscribe for the
Oh,
Cute.
but yeah, I don't know. It's just really ill. But yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to go off on a rant and stuff.
We was all listening, don't worry.
Yeah, I just feel really bad when I go off on a rant. I don't mean to.
It's
But
interesting though when you do. It's interesting, and I'm learning stuff. And don't feel bad for it because people are learning from you, and that's the main thing.
thank you. Yeah, I thought you knew everything.
Me?
Yeah,
No. I've just been learning off everybody. So Voice of Reason, Sam, Mark, Razan, Alara, I learn bits off everybody and yourself, Veiled Rose.
thank you.
Before I came on this app, if I'm honest, I didn't really know much about Islam at all. I just knew at the time that people were trying to get Sharia law in, and I was like, well, what's that? And so people were talking about it, and I just decided to educate myself more by listening to people and not just believing what obviously Muslims would tell me. And that's when I started to realize that they were lying to me, and the other people were telling me the truth.
Absolutely, yeah.
So I find it really fascinating when you'll notice a lot of the time I don't go on panels, but you'll see me in the comments. That's because I'm listening and I'm taking information because I can't really contribute, but I do want to learn.
I'm like that. Most of the time, I don't do lives because, like yourself, I'm still learning, and also I find them really hard to do lives, and even I find it really hard to do be on a panel as well because I have full on ADHD and slight bit of autism, not like really bad autism, but slight bit of autism as well. And so this whole thing's like really hard, but at the same time, sort of like just being in the comments or just talking like this, I know I need to do something to make the world a little bit better and to make myself heard and to make ourselves heard as well, because there's so many people like me and like yourself, and we're just silenced too much. And it's like I would love to one day see Prophet be yourself. I'd love to hear your voice, but I understand, it's not easy, and I can understand why you don't do it, and that's absolutely fine. But I'd love to hear your voice one day, and it'd be great. Next, you're going to tell me next that you're a singer or something like that, and you've got an amazing voice, and yeah, that's why you don't want to share it with the world, because people would want to listen to you all the time or something. Hold on, let me see who wants to come up.
Oh, it's Razan. Yay!
Hey, hi.
Razan.
Oh, I don't know where she's gone. Hold on.
It might be taking a while to come up. I don't know whether. Oh, yay!
Hello, hello, good afternoon.
Hello, darling.
Hi, darling.
I feel really honoured because I've heard your voice forever and it's so lovely, and I'm in the presence of celebrity because you've got such an awesome voice. I'm like, oh my god, you're so well spoken and everything. I'm like, oh.
I was branded a feminist yesterday. I was like, huh? I never thought about myself as a feminist, but I guess I am, and that's okay. That's fine.
It's when they when they swear at you and it's actually a compliment and a badge of honour.
But I just want to ask you something, Wild Rose. Hello, Pixie, my darling.
Hello.
I want to understand your perspective on the Western women who glorify the hijab. I mean, hijab is oppression for a lot of women. Can I dare say millions of women oppression?
Absolutely.
Because if you take Afghanistan, if you take Iraq, and if you take Iran, at least these countries, and Saudi too, by the way, many of these countries, I dare to say million of women, hijab is oppression. But you have two groups of women in the West. The one is the girls who were born into Muslim families. They don't know much about Islam. they have an immigrant background. They also glorify hijab. And the second one, which is the one that annoys me the most, are the Western women who take hijab
Oh,
as a fashion, like just like fashion, and they go out and there's like, oh, this is what I ordered today. Look at this, came with my mail today, and I match this with this color, and I do this. And what do you think about them?
I fucking hate it. I fucking hate it with a fucking passion. It's absolutely disgusting. It really is, and it's so much of a fucking betrayal, though. It's unbelievable. You know, if you see the women, it's firstly the majority of women who wear the hijab are women who are forced to wear it. And the majority of them are women in places like Afghanistan, Iraq, Saudi, and Islamic countries. But even in the fucking West, there was a girl called Aksar Pervez in Canada, and her dad unalived her because she refused to wear the hijab. And this was in Canada. I think it was 2017. It's friggin' insane, and it's so insulting to the women who are fighting against the hijab and fighting against the modesty culture. Absolutely insane. And it's the majority of women who are forced to wear it. You know, most hijabis are forced to wear the friggin' hijab. It's not like, oh, it's just a few women who are forced to wear it. Because like the hijabis try to make out that it's only a minority of women who are forced to wear it. It's not. If you look at the sheer number of like women who were forced to wear it in the Islamic nations and stuff like that, and pockets of women in the Islamic or the Muslim communities in the places like the UK, it's not a fucking minority by any stretch of the imagination. But it's not just the hijab itself. It's like it's everything else it leads to. Because you've got these women having to cover their eyes in Afghanistan with those horrible mesh things. I'd love to take one of those mesh things off, cut it out, and put it on the eyes of the Taliban and say, look, fucking wear that and go around wearing that all day and see how you feel.
That was so fucking failed, right?
Yeah, I do agree
Oh,
with you.
it's like if you're that sense, like if you're that like that much of a hard on by women, just fucking put the veil on your own eyes, or you know, put some goggles on so you can't see us. Sorry, guys.
No, I mean, I do agree with you. I think that the problem where we are fighting it, I mean, because they think that, oh, yeah, it's not about the hijab, it's also how men look at women. Because when you wear the hijab, you are putting this symbol on yourself, and you are telling these men, look at me, I'm a good girl, I'm a good girl. I don't have no boyfriend, I'm pure, I'm virgin. And you see, this is my purity, I show my purity through my clothes, and I'm a virgin. Look at me, look at me, look at me. and
Oh,
and they are giving in. You are giving your power to these men to view you in a certain way, and you're okay with it. And at the same moment, they are slut shaming other women who don't want to wear it.
absolutely,
That's the problem. That's the problem.
exactly. It's Pixel. You were saying this. We were talking about this earlier, Razan. One of the reasons why I put this live on was because in another live there was this arsehole who was slut shaming this lady who'd slept with 1,000 men and blaming her for the grooming, the G gangs. He was literally blaming her for the G gangs.
Okay.
Yeah, it was insane. And they were saying that she was responsible for girls being sort of like becoming potentially copying her and glamorizing her and becoming like her. And me and Pixel were like, no, because you talk to young girls about sexual consent and sort of like valuing yourself and things like that. And who knows about the lady with 1,000, sexual men, smecks with 1,000 men.
That's an extreme example, though. I mean, how
Exactly.
many women they want to do? I mean, like, I know of this woman. She came up on social media and she said that I want to like break the Guinness record by sleeping with these men. I mean, she can do much better stuff than that. But
Yeah.
okay, she wanted to do that for some reason. I'm not gonna slut shame her, but as I understood it, she felt very bad after doing what she'd done. But you cannot blame women. You can't, no matter what the women say, dress, if she winks, if air came and her hair flew in the air, if she's dressed in a dress, skirt, bikini, no matter how she dress, you cannot blame a woman. It's on you. You're the man, right? You're supposed not to be
Absolutely.
emotional, and you're supposed to
Yeah.
have control. So you control yourself. Don't stop blaming women for.
Hazan, you'll be proud of me though. I went on the panel and I told them what businesses of theirs that she slept with 1,000 people. Who cares? It's not affecting your life. And then when they tried to correlate her to the G gangs, I told them that that had nothing to do with the G gangs, and it's insulting that you would even compare them to each other and say that it's because of that. And then I actually made them change the topic back to G gangs and stop talking about the 1,000 men.
The G gang, the Grooming gang, these are underaged little girls. They were like as young as 11, 13. That was their age. They were groomed. They were raped. They didn't, like, you cannot compare that with a woman who is grown up. She
Yeah.
chose to do this challenge for some reason. Now, I am against, like, will I do it? No. Will I support her doing it? No. But will I judge her? No. That's her choice. Okay, she chooses that. That's not my business. Okay, that's not my business. Do I think that she is a moral example of women? No. Do I think that this is what women should seek or look up to? No. She's not. There are much better examples for young women and role models for young women than that woman. But okay, she chose to do it. Fine. Do what makes you happy. She is a grown-up woman above the age of 18, and she chose to do that with consent from every partner she had a relationship with. You cannot compare it with Grooming gang, where they lured underage girls on false pretenses, not taking consent from these girls. Some of these girls has been even raped from multiple men at the same time. How can you even compare those two? You can't.
You can't. No, exactly.
can't.
You just can't. Absolutely not. And yeah, I just hate how these girls would have felt, because I can imagine they would have, when they've gone to the police. I've heard accounts where the police have told them to stop being drama queens and stop being so dramatic, and just turn them away. But when they hear women being shamed like this as well, it just adds to their feeling of shame and guilt about what has happened to them as well. And the seeds of sort of like feeling like it was maybe their fault and things like that. Yeah, it's just really hard to comprehend where they must be at, and I'm hoping they're able to find some help and support for what they've been through. Yeah, one of the things I put out in my, because I did an article on it, and one of the things that I put towards the end of the article was asking people if they're able to try and sort of like donate or volunteer with some of the Grape and SA centre, survival centres across the towns and cities in the UK. because they're always looking for volunteers for admin or helplines and things like that. So if people can do anything like that, and I know on Instagram I keep getting up adverts for the NSPCC, the Childline. I think it's a child cruelty charity. They help children through their phone line. They're looking for counsellors there if people are able to do anything like that, because in all this sort of like conversations about the G gangs, it's just really hard to see that the girls who have been at the front of this, they must be really struggling, and people aren't acknowledging how traumatic and difficult it is for people who have survived things like that, and how much support they could do with and stuff like that. And there's not been, I don't think there's been enough discussion about how to for people who are essayed and harassed and stuff, how to talk about it and seek help for it and how to heal from it. There's probably, yeah, it is really sad. But yeah, I don't know what other people think, or if people have had to support other people, because I've worked in that field before where I've supported women who have gone through it as children, similar stuff as children. And yeah, you see the effects of it years on. It's not something that just happens to you when you're a child and you forget about it. There's a lot of effects of it later in life as well, where there's triggers and stuff like that.
Yeah, I've had to help those people.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's quite sad to see that they suffered so traumatically as a child, and it spilled over into their adult lives, and it's just consuming their whole life. And you know, they find it so hard to move on. And sometimes I think the perpetrators, they get away with it because they don't have to live with what, do you know what I mean, really what they've done. They can just sleep easy at night, go to bed, even if they're in prison. You know, they just kind of move on with their lives after they get released. Whereas these victims have to live with this for the rest of their life, and they have to deal with the trauma that they've suffered, and they have to open up to people, and it's very difficult for them.
Absolutely. I think the thing that really pisses me off, though, is a lot of the time, I mean, if you look at the stats for women who are raped, the conviction rates of the rapists is 1%. And these are women who are able, well, it's not a question of able, you know, who do talk out and seek justice, but it's hard enough for them. So can you imagine just how many arseholes and pedos are getting away with it, doing it to young children, in not just in the G gangs, but everywhere else. And I'm finding it so hard to like manage at the moment, because I'm thinking that a lot of people are forgetting there will be a lot of people who have suffered through shit like this, and who are constantly hearing this stuff and being triggered by it, or having to, you know, manage that extra layer of crap on top of it all, knowing that, you know, society throws up like rightly angry about it at the moment, but a lot of the time, where is that anger directed? And if, you know, it's not correlating to the justice that we get in our courts and in our police stations and stuff like that, or even in our own families and stuff like that, because most of it is a lot of the SA and the rape and stuff like that is actually within people's own families, which is something else that people, you know, are ignoring with all of this. And I'm just really losing my shit over this at the moment. Over the last few weeks, it's just been so incredibly difficult to keep like my head above water, because the discourse around this is so, it is so, I can't, I can't find the words for it, but it doesn't match the reality. Because I mean, a lot of the other thing that I think people aren't addressing is that society, the UK, I can't speak for other countries, but in the UK, there's so much discrimination against kids who are in care. Because I remember because I also worked briefly with looked after children in foster care. I was in a project where I was trying to encourage teenagers that were in care to go to university and broaden their horizons and stuff like that, and do try to know, just so they know that there's more for them out there than what they've seen in their broken families and stuff like that. And the amount of sort of like abuse and stigma they would have for being in care, they would do their best when they were at school and stuff to hide the fact that they were in care, because of the stigma they would get and called trashed and damaged goods and stuff like that. And then, you look at the fact that there's the foster care service. I mean, I know in the city I'm in, after the 2008 bankers crash, shortly after that, the local council cut funding by almost half that was being spent on looked after foster children in foster cares, in children's homes. And so you've had years of government and local government cuts to these services and stuff as well. And it's just, the far right, when they talk about the G gangs, they don't talk about the other stuff that has allowed these G gangs to get away with what they've got away with. Because it's not just it is a lot to do with the Muslim community keeping quiet and about sexual violence and abuse and stuff, but also the fact that the care system is not supporting these children and not giving them a voice and not giving them autonomy and stuff like that, that they deserve, and the care that they deserve. There's just so much missing from the conversation in the press and stuff like that. And in the Home Secretary's statement, she said there was 5 million to be spent on an inquiry to look into it, or some, to help deal with the issue. One of the figures she branded in her statement. I was like, what is 5 million when there's been decades of fucking cuts to these services that these young girls and these police services are dealing, having to manage and stuff. But yeah.
Can I ask you a question, Wild Rose? It's a bit strange question, though.
No, go on. There's no such thing as a strange question when you're talking to me, because I'm very strange.
Is it possible for the victims, the girls, to raise a case against the government and sue them?
That's a good question.
Mm-hmm. They should do that. They should sue the government.
They could, but it's very, very difficult, Razan. Very difficult. It's very complex, it's very difficult, and it's very long. And it can actually cause more trauma to the victims doing that.
It should not be the girls who do it. It should be the parents who can, because some of these, I don't know, like some of these, I don't know if they are still underage. If they're underage, maybe the parents can sue the government. If they are above 18, maybe if they want, but that requires a very good lawyer. But I just want to ask Wild Rose.
Yeah. I think, Roseanne, that's the issue. There's a couple of things to that. The first one is because they're in care, a lot of the time they're in care because their family is broken for whatever reason. And so they're put in care in very extreme circumstances where the family are seen as more dangerous, seen as too dangerous for them to stay with the family, to stay living with the family. So it may be the parents who are very abusive as well and doing things similar to that as well. So they've been put into the foster care system. And so one of the reasons why the G gangs have targeted them is because they haven't got that support network of their families and their communities. And so they're not going to have the resources to go to lawyers and that. It's similar to why rapists and G gangs don't target older women, because we have more resources, we have more independence, and we're a lot stronger. Most assaults and stuff like that happen to younger girls, but also I think Pixel pointed that out as well. It is draining. I mean, just to go through an ordinary case, just to go to the police and to report it, it's hard enough because the police can be really vile. There've been times where there's been reports where the girls have told the media that they've and other people that the police have just told them to shut up and stop being drama queens and stop being whiny.
Why the police has said that? Maybe because I'm just saying that maybe because the police is being infiltrated.
I think so, but
Yeah.
also the police can. I mean, not all police officers, but I in the UK especially. This is going to sound really bad, but not all police officers go in there to like do law and order. Sometimes it is because they want the power, and they can be quite abusive themselves. There have been incidents where people have filmed them sort of like beating up women who are unarmed. There was a Sarah Everard incident where a police officer had actually I don't know the details, but they had unalived a young woman called Sarah Everard and dumped her body. And so there is that element of mistrust and police brutality as well. But in like there is a famous case of people taking the government to court for them not doing their job properly. It was during the Hillsborough, because in the 1980s there was a football incident where the police had mishandled the football incident really badly, and there was a riot. Well, not a riot, but like something had gone wrong in the crowds at a football stadium in Liverpool in the UK, and a lot of people were unalived as a result and lost their lives and stuff like that. And the people who tried to bring the police and the government to justice over that, they fought for 30 years, a whole group of adults and families and stuff like that affected by that incident spent 30 years trying to get justice for it. And so yeah, it is really hard, and like Pixel said, it can be re-traumatizing. Another reason why a lot of the time SA victims and rape victims don't seek justice, because of the fact that it does so much harm, and there's so much blaming the victims that goes on.
But also, there's such a small number that actually get convicted. Like the conviction rate is very small, and they always warn you, because I was warned to say, well, my mum was, should I say, because I was only a child, that if I was to take this any further, the basically to get a conviction, I would have had I think it was like a 2% chance. So,
but Vile Rose, what about your organization or some kind of women? I mean, I do get it. Okay, as you said, that there's some of these victims, they have shattered homes. Maybe they come from broken families. Maybe they don't have a father or a mother figure or a family member who can stand up for these girls. I do get all of that, and I understand that. But what if an organization can do something is that possible to do, or they can sue the government?
That would be great. But I think so I know with because I don't work with any women's organisations who deal with SA and rape and stuff like that. But when I have, they have found it really hard just to manage what little they do, if that makes sense. The amount of pressure they're under. I think if like I think there's a national helpline or something like that, or Women's Aid or something like that. There are probably some organisations could possibly take on something like that, but they'd have to. I don't know if they would have the resources to do it. It sounds awful, and they're having to, because there isn't really an organisation that does that. I'm not. It's really hard to stress just how impossible it is to get any help from these organisations anyway, because they're so overstretched. Like just to get a counselling appointments with some of these organisations can take like a couple of years, 6 months to a couple of years, just to get a counselling appointments. That's how overstretched they are. And I can't see, and that as far as I know, there isn't any organisations that specifically just deal with SA of children. It's usually women's SA, like crisis centres, who add on child SE, like sexual abuse and assault onto their remit, but there's very few people who do that. And if you it sounds really crap, but it's not because I'm not one, I don't think there isn't the will to do it. It's just that there isn't the resources and the time and stuff like that to do it, and it's so hard. The power structures are so against you, but I think that's why the fact that public pressure and people are speaking out about it finally is something, because it is starting to have some sort of an effect, because the fact that the Labour Party have actually said something about it finally after years, because I think it was a good 10 years ago, well, no, good 25 years ago or so, before the J report in 1997, before that report, there was an MP, I think in Keighley in Yorkshire, who started to report these things going on, and nothing was happening. I feel like I'm waffling because there is no answer to it. It's really horrible. It's really depressing and infuriating, because like Razan, you're saying, surely there must be something that is tangibly doable that these girls can do, but it literally I'm just thinking, no, it's short of people keeping up the public pressure, but even during this discourse, people aren't thinking about the girls and the kind of shit they're going through. But I'm sorry. I feel really shit for not being able to get.
It sounds. Pixie, she may even agree with me on this or not, but it sounds like it's more in the government's hands, really. And what kind of rights, what kind of safety they want to give women. It's up to them. What is it? What kind of signals you want to give these women and these men? These are underage girls who went through horrible trauma and horrible thing in their life. And we, like, as a society, we need to help them. And as a society, we need to prevent that this happen to other young girls. So what is the solution now? Okay, there is a lack of organization that can drive this. There's a lack of grown-ups and in these, because some of these girls come from broken families. So what should we do? Well, it goes back to the government again, and they should not be weak, and they should not bow down, and they should take like laws, because if they don't, that somebody will. and we don't want it to get to that point. So yeah, at the end, it's, you know, it's the government. They need to guarantee the safety of women, and especially the underage girls. And maybe school needs to be getting involved. That should be maybe part of the education, like how
Yeah.
to, yeah, everyone should be involved to help these girls to prevent this from happening.
Razan, you're right. I agree with you. But this is unfortunately the government that we're under. And if you think about it, there's PDFs everywhere in doctors, in the police service, in the government, and it's almost like they're just protecting one another.
Absolutely.
That's a problem, Pixie. That's a problem. I mean, you said that there is PDF everywhere. Okay, fine. But these underage girls, now I don't know if they went to school or not, or they like didn't, like, you know, participate in school, or, you know, because some, they just like they said, I don't want to go to school today. So maybe they should be like lessons for girls, like just like sex education at school. Maybe they should have a how to recognize signs that someone is grooming you, what to do when somebody's trying to do this to you or that to you. It could be that like they should give these girls, or these underage girls, a tool at least to recognize the signs of being groomed. Yeah, and what to do. Like, okay, I went to the doctor, and something happened to me. Okay, what should I do next? Who should I contact? Who should I? Yeah, like,
Razan, I agree with you. However, there's a little bit of a flaw in that, right? Because now, obviously, stuff coming out in the media about the police and what have you, unaliving girls, and there's a fear there. There's a fear that they won't be believed. There's a fear that something might happen to them. There's a fear that a police officer may take advantage of them. There's so many things there. So it's not, I don't think it's just about educating the girls. I think it's about having a whole upheaval of our legal system, of how police handle it, having real vetted checks on people, on the police.
Absolutely.
And, you know, making sure that the police are in it for the right reasons and not just for power. And if any kind of misconduct happens from any officer, that they should come down with them with an iron fist, because that won't be tolerated within a government standing of the police force that are meant to serve and protect the public when they haven't been doing their job.
that's the problem, Pixie. I just felt that the society itself, the government, the school, the families, these men, we all failed these girls. Failed these girls, and no one wants to take responsibility. That's the problem too, because how you prevent this? You need to start putting solutions. Learn from this. What happened to what happened to them? It's horrible. The least thing you can do. I'm just saying. I'm not saying that this will be better the situation, but I'm just saying that the least thing that we can do, or the society can do at least, is take lessons from what happened to these girls, and maybe someday you can help someone else. You can prevent this happening again. So don't let these girls what went through go to waste.
Absolutely.
So that's the problem. I mean, you need the government, that government. I'm sorry, that government needs to be gone. It's not working.
Yeah, absolutely.
The safety of girls and women are being jeopardized right now, and there is no time, there is no place and time for playing around anymore, because the safety of women and girls are being jeopardized, and when something bad happens, they don't get there is no support for them.
Yeah, it's really horrendous. I'm just losing the will to not scream. I completely agree with you. I think one of the biggest issues is the fact that the people in our parliament have traditionally been the ones who are also these perpetrators. Voice of Reasons here, he might know more about this because he knows everything. He's my
but he's a walking dictionary.
Yeah, I believe that during the Thatcher years, there was a PDF file ring, a ring of MPs who were involved in one like that, in a PDF G gang in Parliament then. But also, I believe that I'd have to look this up, but I think around 2013, 2012, around then, when they had the issue of the upskirting thingy first came about, where men were taking pictures and of women, and upskirting. Hopefully I don't have to spell it out, but they tried to pass a law in Parliament to say it should be a criminal act to do that, and Tory MPs voted against that becoming a criminal act. There's also been times I think I'll have to do. I'm really bad with facts and figures because my ADHD is rubbish and stuff. But there have been occasions where women's rights groups and other groups have tried to have a relationship and consent education in our schools, and people like the Tories, not just the Tories, but Parliament, have declined that. But when you think about some of the really nasty scum that are in our Parliament and in our ruling circles, I feel a bit awful for saying that, like some sort of conspiracist, but there's a reason why the rest of society is suffering because of things like that. But yeah, there have been occasions where the parliaments have refused to have relationship education in our secondary schools and in our schools. I mean, it took them years to have sex education in schools, never mind LGBT conversations in our schools, because that only came about in the late 2000s. I'm sorry, 2011 or something like that, quite late on as well. But sex education in itself, a lot of parents refuse to let their children attend those classes as well. I remember when I was at school, I didn't really tell my parents that was a thing going on in our school. It was none of their business. And I don't think I ever gave them the letter. I don't know if they gave us letters to give to our parents about sex education lessons. But I remember one of my sister's friends, her parents told the teachers that she wasn't allowed to attend the sex education lessons. And it wasn't that uncommon for people it's not that uncommon. But yeah, I think
Veiled Rose, you're right about that. Like, I mean, when I was in school, it was actually part of my curriculum that I attend sex education. But I see now on like TikTok some debates where they go on about how they don't want their child taking these classes, and in my mind, I think, but this is what needs to happen. They need to be learning about this stuff because they need to know what is right and what is wrong, and they need to learn about consent as well.
exactly.
And they need to know about all the things about their bodies, and this is why children end up being very confused about what's happening to them when they're older, when they've not learned about this stuff.
Oh gosh, yeah, I can tell you a few stories about how confused I was. Oh my god.
I never had it. I never had it. Did you had it, Wild Rose, when you were little?
Yeah, well, I was brought up in the UK.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, I was quite lucky, but even that was inadequate. I mean, the amount of things I didn't know, it was quite embarrassing. My partner was great though, that they put me right. But
I've never had it because I grew up in the Middle East, and it was like I think it was when I went to high school, and I remember we had like a book of biology, and it was like we all giggled because it was an illustration. It was not even a real picture, an illustration of a man's private part, and all the girls were giggling. And we were like all giggling, like, what is that? I never had that at school. The sex education never had that. But yeah, I do agree. It's necessary, and also but with that consent, with that how to recognize signs of grooming, how to protect. But they also need to know all this, like what do I need to do, like not only like recognize the signs, but what do I need to do, how do I escalate something that worries me to someone who is like maybe someone in school, maybe talk with somebody there. But again, Vile Rose, because you said something that there is no lawyers, there is no system, but then the only solution, because I do like to focus on the solutions a little bit here, like
Yeah.
how to solve this. But what
Hold on a
if,
second.
yeah, no
Thank
problem.
you. Sorry, there was just someone at the door. Just taking in a package.
Oh, no problem.
Sorry, carry on. No, I'm very much like that as well, trying to focus on solutions and stuff. I don't
Yeah,
know
but
if you...
just wonder what if the do you call it good Semites, no, the good people,
Samaritans.
the good Samaritans, and maybe some of these Samaritans are lawyers, maybe some of them are doctors, maybe some of them are what do you call it, a police officers, I don't know, some of them, it could be moms, they could be just like anyone. And these good people, Samaritans, they start an organization or a group, and they like work with these girls, but at the same time like process something with the government. Do you think this is a possibility to do?
Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping that's what the government are saying that they're going to do, because I haven't had a chance to properly look at um, the government proposals. But I don't think they've mentioned anything about working with um, the survivors of the
Yeah.
what happened.
I don't think the government can interfere. These are like regular people. Like these are like,
Mm,
this is just like your neighbors, and they get together, build a group or build an organization or whatever. It could be like, something that, people can donate money to, or, work for free, or, volunteers or whatever, but just like to help girls in sticky situation. And I know maybe this organization could be little, but then it can grow and can help, and maybe even this organization can have go to schools and lecture girls about what to do and what not to do. And I just wonder, like, if it is a possibility to do. Like, this is just, I'm thinking out loud here, but because I just felt that when every time I go, I just find a closed door, and it's just like there is no help from the government, there are no help from the parents, there is no help from any lawyers, or the girls
yeah,
themselves are underaged. So what to do? So I don't know. So I'm just thinking out loud. Maybe
yeah.
let's
I mean,
leave it to the good people that can help.
yeah, I think, well, one of the things that I put at the end of one of the articles I did was to encourage people to volunteer and reach out to organisations, because in the UK, a lot of cities have sexual and sexual crisis centres where women can go to receive support in reporting and recovery from things like that. But they've been sort of like, traditionally they usually get funding from local governments, and wherever they can, they just have their begging bowls out all the time. And I was saying in the article and earlier on in this live that if people can go and contact their local centres like that, who do work like that, to contact them and offer to help them, it'd be interesting, because I think I've got a feeling that there is some of that already in place for the victims in places like Huddersfield and Rotherham, and that's why these cases have come to be. But I don't know enough about the local situation. But yeah, I think it might be worth as individuals just to stress to people to um, signpost people to organisations like the sexual. Sorry, I hate having to talk in TikTok code, but crisis centres and stuff like that. I might even write to some of them, or even write to some of these centres and ask what we can do to support these guys. Because if anybody will know, it would be women who, and organisations who already do some of that work already. Does that make sense?
I mean, just tell us how we can help. I don't know, like if we can do something. Just like, yeah. I mean, like
Yeah.
that's a problem. I mean, yeah. I mean, I'm kind of like Pixie. Maybe I should move to UK and start an organization there.
I'll back it.
Yeah. Sorry, Pixel.
I said I'll back it if she does.
Yeah, definitely. No, I think it's worth doing. I'm going to actually bring that up because something needs to be done. I'll have a. It'd be worth like just flagging that up in our own platforms that we've got, just to encourage people to support these victims. So where we do know of these gangs, where there's like Rotherham and Halifax and places like that. If we do it ourselves, if we contact these the sexual abuse centres that are operating in those areas, who are supporting women and children in those areas, we can write to them ourselves and say, is there anything we can do to help support? Are you if you are, you don't, obviously they can't and they shouldn't tell us if they are working with these women and girls, but if they are, is there anything we can do to support them? Just as a starting point, just to get that conversation going, because if there is something we can do to support them, that would be really good. But I don't know, I've got a feeling some things have already been started. That's why it's in the media. And I think in Rotherham there was some convictions. So yeah, I will, because I know some people. I will speak to some people because I'm friends with a woman, a lady who's one of the organisers of Femin, which is a women's rights organisation. They've got organisations in different countries across the world, and they do protests and organise things. So I might flag that up. That's a really good idea, though, to see what we can do to help. What actions that these guys might be able to take and stuff. But even if organisations like that did mention it and offer support, yeah, I think there are things going on behind the scenes, though, and offer support. Yeah, I think there are things going on behind the scenes, though.
There are some volunteer lawyers. You don't need even to pay them. It could be it could be an old guy who worked 30 years as a lawyer, and that person, he went into pension, but that person can volunteer and willing to volunteer and want to help these girls. I mean, you don't know, but I'm just saying that there are good people out there, and sometimes you can put it in the kindness of people. So yeah, I mean, the whole purpose or the whole aim is to help them, but also prevent other girls for falling into these men like these again. So, and raise awareness in women, in men, in families, in little underage girls. We raise awareness for everyone. So, and also the government need to stop being pussies. They need to wake up, and they need to, need to think about the safety of women before any political correctness. You need to think about the safety of women and girls. I'm sorry, but that's the reality of it. You are affecting a human being's life forever if you don't stand up for this.
Absolutely.
So just I don't know how to help, but of course I will of course, I'll try to help you as much as I can, with the
Yeah,
little I can do. Because yeah, I'm not from UK, but I'll of course I'll stand and support you guys.
yeah. I mean,
I'll
it's
help.
yeah. I think if people can look in the, I mean, this is a situation everywhere, though. So I don't know. I don't know where you're based, Razan, but maybe if there's a charity that work, or a government organisation that works with victims of SA and stuff like that, maybe reach out to them. But I think one of the because on my Instagram I follow quite a few women's rights organisations, and they publish quite a few good educational posts about what these things are, like what SA is, what coercive control is, and how to spot them and things like that. I don't really see them on TikTok. So they might be organized, posts like that on TikTok. Or maybe I just don't come across them. But I think it'd be good, the people who are working with these girls at the moment, because there must be. I think that's the only reason why this has come out publicly. It's taken a long time, but it has finally come. People are talking about it a lot more. So yeah, it's worth sort of like doing a bit more digging and finding out who's the people helping them, because you have to remember that they do get a lot of threats and abuse as well. A lot of the reasons why the girls haven't reported it, or or repeatedly reported it until they've got justice, is because they've been threatened by these G gangs. And then you've had, I don't know if you guys remember when Naz Shah put it, I think it was in a tweet, she said to the victims, shut up for the sake of diversity. And so I think, yeah, it's...
Who said that? Who said that is a member of a parliament, right?
Yeah, so Naz Shah, she's a Pakistani Muslim woman, but she's also a member of parliament in the UK for the Labour Party. And she's been in high positions where she's been one of the top, cabinet ministers, one of the top leading bodies in the government position.
Fired. So is she fired?
No,
Okay,
not
so
at
why
all.
is she? So why the fuck is she still working? She should be fired.
Absolutely, exactly.
There,
But
there you go. That's the first problem. People need to protest and fire her.
Absolutely.
That's the first
But
thing.
because she's a Pakistani brown woman, people have not fired her. If a white man were to turn around and say that to the girls on a tweet, you can imagine how much more anger there would have been about it. But because she was a Pakistani brown woman and a Muslim one, nobody said anything. People mention it every now and then, but no, she still carried on being a top government minister and stuff like that. But when the victims see statements like that from MPs, as well as police officers turning around and saying, well, shut up, and then in Donald Trump being, I know across the pond, but it's the same sort of thing where he's been convicted of rape, but he's got away with it, and now he's president. It's like, how do you?
We cannot use America. America is not the standard for our, like. I mean,
absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, it's not something that we. I mean, for me, I don't have any role model or any role models. That's I've never had, because that role. If you have a role model and that role model do something bad, then who you have a role model. You should be your own self role model. That's I think that's the best thing I can give it.
Yeah.
But I think that's the problem is I'm sorry.
No,
to say that the problem is in the hands of the people of Britain. What do you want? What do you
Yeah.
want? Do you want it to continue like that, or do you want to do something about it? Because these girls now are threatened. They're threatened even by, not only by the grooming gangs, they're even threatened by the government. So you have a parliament, a woman who sits in the parliament, still have her job, still have her money from taxpayers, and she's sitting there and talking crap about these girls.
Yeah, I
And,
mean, this
and
was, yeah,
that's ridiculous.
this,
That's
she said
crazy.
that, yeah,
Yeah.
she said that a good few years ago, because this issue has been going on for decades now. But I believe she said this about 5-6 years ago when she said this. But yeah, there wasn't any, she wasn't fired or anything, and she's still in. I think she's still an MP now, and nobody's mentioned that she said that before. At this time round, when it's in the news cycle now, nobody's in the media has mentioned what she said to the grooming gang, G gang victims to shut up. And yeah, and it's only sort of like last week or the week before where Keir Starmer said, don't talk about the G gangs because it's playing into the hands of the far right. But yeah, I think one of the things that, because I usually just focus on ex-Muslim awareness and issues of leaving, why people should leave Islam or why people have left Islam and stuff. But I think one of the things I do on Instagram, I do different things on Instagram. So I follow a lot of women's rights organizations who work with victims of domestic violence and stuff like that. But I think I do need to perhaps promote them a bit more on TikTok when I'm doing work on TikTok, because they do some really good work, and I think they've helped. Because the language around SMEX, sexual violence and stuff, has changed since since I was a lot younger. In the UK, it has changed a lot. It's not taboo to talk about it and stuff like that now. And women, I think, like if you look at Giselle Pellicott, she's changed. I think she's changed, helped to bring about a lot of change and stuff like that. And so I think I do need to perhaps myself talk about things like that a little bit more too. And I think if we all start that journey, but I think one of the things I will do is contact my local organization that helps women and girls who have been affected by it, and see what I can do to help out in the local area, even if I just do a little bit of admin or something like that, or fundraising or something. And I think it's worth people doing that too, because sometimes it's just getting that first foothold into supporting people and talking about it and stuff like that. And yeah, sometimes it's nice to have the big solutions, and I want things to change quickly, but sometimes it's just a case of just making sure we're talking about it anyway, if that makes sense.
But I just want to say, it's just because he said that do not talk about Keir Starmer. Okay, he said that do not talk about the grooming gangs, or because that will benefit the far right. Right? Did I understand that correct?
Yeah, that's what he said, because he said it would play into their hands, and it's a far right talking point.
Okay, so but it will.
It's ridiculous, isn't it?
That's the fun part. That's the funny part. If he would man up and do something about it, then people will be satisfied with the solution that they have. But because now people are so angry with what the lack of empathy and the lack of action, then people will gonna vote for the right. And
exactly.
I will not blame him if they want to do that.
Exactly. It's really frustrating. Because the other thing he said, that it would cause Islamophobia. It's Islamophobic to talk about them.
He need to have an education from you.
Oh, absolutely. And me and
One on
you.
one. I'll bring
No. You will probably do a much better job. I would not want to be arguing with you face to face.
I will open madrasa and I will bring him. Okay, I will open madrasa and bring him and teach him about Islam. And then after that, let's see really if he likes it and if he will call it Islamophobia. But at the end, so he wants to keep his chair and he wants to keep his power. And at the end, he's thinking about his own self. He's not thinking what's benefit and what's good for the people. He's thinking about himself, being selfish and thinking all about himself. And this will backfire at him. Just give it time and you will see.
Exactly. The really sad and disgusting thing is that when it comes to criticizing Islam and the evils of Islam and the bad effects, the G gangs, the only people talking about it, apart from ex-Muslims like me and you and amazing people like Pixel and Voice of Reason, apart from people like us, it is mainly the far right and the right-wing press. Like the right wing, like the Spectator, I think it's called, and right wing journals like that. The left wing aren't touching it. And when you criticize Islam, if you talk to anyone in the Labour Party or anyone in any socialist organization in the UK or in Europe, they just call you an Islamophobe. But at the same time, ordinary people are not dumb. They see these dangers, they see these G gangs, and they see Charlie Hebdo attacks, and they see the teacher in France who was unalived for a cartoon, and then they see the Batley Grammar School teacher who is still in hiding. Ordinary people see that, and then they see the politician, they see the right wingers who actually at least admit there is a problem. I mean, the right wing are just as, a lot of them are Christian right wings, and so they, potentially could be just as bad if Christianity ever became a bit more popular again. And then you've got the left wing denying that there's a problem and telling them to shut up about it, like Keir Starmer. And then they've got people like us who are such a small in number. And we've got so smaller platforms at the moment, unfortunately. Trying to get a voice, it's really hard. But we are starting to get a voice. I don't know if you guys have heard of Khadija Khan. She's a journalist and broadcaster for a online magazine called Further Inquiry, and she appears on places on TV news like GB News and Talk TV and stuff. And she's an ex-Muslim and a free thinker, and she challenges sort of like Muslims on these platforms, on these talk shows and news channels and stuff like that, and asks them, challenges them when they tell her to shut up about like the Sharia courts or claims of Islamophobia, and she's and stuff like that. But we're still in such a minority. But yeah, it's really frustrating, because what are people supposed to think when they see that? Of course they're going to be like, go to the right if they're that frightened, and be, it's just a shame that people don't see that the right are, the far right especially, they're just as vile, and they're being real hypocrites, because they share a lot of the same sort of views on women and stuff like that as well. And Tommy Robinson was, I think he got into an argument online with Claire Fox. She's I think she's a Reform MP now, but she used to be a communist, and I think she's a journalist or something like that as well, but she's an MP, and she had a different view on the G gangs and how to handle them to Tommy Robinson. And Tommy Robinson's reply was like, it's really disgusting. One of my friends, I'll have to see if I can make a video on it, share the post. But his response, it would be really hard to tell if that was a Mohammed Hijab tweet or if it was a Tommy Robinson tweet. It was that laced with misogyny. It would be hard pressed to tell. So yeah, it's just, for me, it's just really sad. I don't blame people for going to the right when they see Islamism as such a threat and the far right are the only ones talking about it. But at the same time, it's really sad because the far right are just as bad as the Islamists. They're just another side of the same coin. They're more about Christian and white supremacy rather than Islamist and Arab supremacy. You know, it's crazy. But yeah. So yeah, Sean, thank you. Sean, are you Sam? Because I keep seeing your picture and thinking Sean, there's a lady called Sean and I keep thinking it's Sam. Because I think Sam's used similar imaging like that on her profile, so I keep thinking it might be Sam.
Oh no.
No, okay, that's fine. It's very similar to some of the images she sometimes uses. No, that's fine. But thank you for staying here and carrying on listening to us. Yeah. So where? Yeah. Sorry, my brain's gone blank now. Trying to wake up a little bit. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if you've heard or know much about Tommy Robinson, Razan.
I mean, people were saying that he's a bad man, bad man, bad man. I was like, okay, so because I don't know him, so did my own research, and then I watched his documentary that Elon Musk actually recently republished on his own platform. But I watched his documentary and I just felt that, okay, he didn't say anything that I wouldn't agree with. So I don't understand how can he be branded an Islamophobe when he is criticizing Islam. Then I read that somewhere that the guy that took on his case and was a Muslim lawyer who made sure that Tommy Robinson ends up behind bars. And whether you like it or not, these Muslims are making sure that you have blasphemy law and apostasy law in your country, whether you like it or not, and you're letting it happen. So
Yeah.
that's all the information I have about him. I have not. I mean, I tried to find something bad about him. I couldn't find anything, but maybe because I don't know him so well. So this is all the information that I got about him.
Oh, that's fine. I had to deliberately look up information about him because for somebody who's talked about a lot in the press, well, on social media, there's not actually a lot of information about him. But I don't go on Twitter, but one of my friends does, and I know he's tweeted about bringing back Christian values. But when I've looked into his history, he's got a history of stalking and harassing journalists and people who disagree with him. And he's actually doxed people. He's leaked information of journalists who have reported on him. There was a famous incident of when he encouraged and he lied about a Syrian teenager, and it led to him being beaten up. And thingy Tommy Robinson.
Isn't that the case about the boy in school where he there was this British boy who beat him. They had a fight at school, right?
Yeah.
And that poor, because that's the documentary that I saw, and then Tommy, he said like, okay, then this is two boys fought at school, and then the school dealt with it, and it's fine. And then he went on an interview, and then no, it was a huge like the Muslim community made a huge deal, like this poor Syrian guy that he came as an immigrant and he's Muslim, and they like made him into a martyr. And then Tommy, he went on and interviewed the students at school, and it was not like that. It was actually the other way. And it was he was bullying girls. He was
Oh,
bullying other students. Yeah. So that was actually the documentary that I saw. And
okay.
yeah,
I'll have to have a look at that documentary because he was actually.
that's a good documentary. I mean, he did not like the thing is, it's the Syrian. That's why I think this is exactly why he got in prison also. But the thing is, that Syrian boy, they made him into becoming this martyr, this nice guy, and this evil white British boy who beat him up and bullied him. But then when he did interview multiple students from the school, they interviewed neighbors. He went on and interviewed like parents, school staff, and all of them said that this white British boy is a good student. He was a good student. And what happened is this Syrian boy who came, he starting to harass the girls, he beat girls, he was not nice. So and then a fight happened between those two, and that's how it started.
Oh, okay. I haven't
Yeah,
looked into it properly,
yeah.
but I was
I thought it was because he said he was going to. Oh,
See?
sorry, my signal went and I've just started coughing. I thought the
That's all
reason
right.
why that had a fight with a Syrian boy was because that Syrian boy said that he would grape his sister.
It was something also that what boy said. He was insulting also. He would call people names. He would insult in a sexual way the others as well, and the girls too. He would call them the B word and the W word. So that white boy, that white British boy, he confronted him, and then a fight started between those two, which happens in any school, and it should be dealt by the school, and then it's done. It should be enough. That's done. But he said no. The Muslim community made him into a martyr, made him into this big deal. And he said that the mother of that British boy, they had to flee their home and rent just like a home somewhere else in a hotel. And that hotel was close to a mosque. It was something like that. I mean, the documentary was, I think it was almost like 1 hour or 1.5 hour long. Yeah. So, anyways, yeah. But I do appreciate that documentary because, yeah, he went on and interviewed every person that he could know of to talk about what happened and who these and so it was a good documentary. Yeah.
Okay. Was it on YouTube or somewhere? Because I haven't had a chance.
I think it was on X, and I think Elon Musk published it too. So I think if you go on Elon Musk on X, I think you will find Tommy Robinson's documentary there. I think it has been watched by over 150 million people.
Oh, okay. I'll have to check that out.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because I thought oh, okay, because I know that was the reason why, one of the reasons why, because he doxed the boy or like inflamed hatred towards the boy or something like that. But if the boy's doing stuff like that, then I can understand why somebody might retaliate.
If you're gonna see the documentary, he explains exactly what happened, and because this is exactly what the Muslim community and the media wanted to portray that white. I mean, like I almost wanted to cry because that boy, that white British boy, like he and his mother suffered a lot, and he stood up for this bully. So he was a bully. He was not a nice Syrian boy. And he got consequence for it. And the question is, if it was an immigrant who stood up with that, if it was a Muslim boy with a Muslim boy, would this happen? No, it will not happen. That they will no, there will be no news about it.
Oh, okay, fair dues. Yeah, okay, I need to look that up in a bit more detail. Yeah, that is really bad. I'll have to check that video out as well. But I mean, the other thing that I've heard is that Tommy Robinson, he has turned up. He's leaked information, like the address of journalists who have disagreed with him, and he's called on his followers to go and harass them and stuff like that. But he's also turned up at their houses as well and started intimidating them too. And I've seen the post that he did, basically really sort of like misogynistic and quite vile towards this Claire Fox and stuff like that. So yeah, I think I'm still not convinced by Tommy Robinson, and I think there is a lot more hatred. I think he does use anti-Muslim bigotry to target and as a front for his racism towards brown and black people. But at the same time, I do need to find out more about him and stuff like that. And I think there needs to be, I think there's too much, I don't think people know enough about him as well, even though he's talked about a lot. I don't think enough people know about the way he's attacked and harassed and stalked journalists and been told to stay away, and he's turned up
I
at their
didn't know
houses.
that.
Yeah, and then tried to threaten them in their own homes and stuff. And stuff. But yeah, there's also, I need to, because I remember this from years ago, because some of the far right have got a history of sort of like gang rapes and stuff like that too, which is really horrendous. I think, I don't know, Pixel, you might remember this. Wasn't there a MP that Boris Johnson endorsed for an election, and he was a convicted rapist or something? I can't remember the details. I hate the fact that I forget details.
No, I think you're right. I can't really remember the details, but I'm sure that you're right on that. I'm pretty sure that I've skimmed over an article about it.
I think he might have been a Welsh MP or something. But there was that time when oh gosh, I remember this. I don't know why people haven't been discussing this as well, actually. Do you remember when the Jimmy Savile case was in the press a bit more, and Jeffrey Epstein and stuff like that was coming out at the time, and Boris Johnson was on the radio and he said something like, "We don't want to spaff money up the wall investigating these."
Oh yeah, because a newspaper reported on that radio interview that he did.
Yeah.
And I do remember. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, because nobody's mentioning it now, but it's exactly the same situation. He'll be saying that about I reckon if he was in government now and he was in Keir Starmer's place now, people would be like glossing over that, even if he was in government now, because Boris Johnson was like Teflon no matter what he said and did. But it is an example of how sort of like, because even though he said something like that, as horrific as, oh, we don't want to waste money on historical cases, spaff money up the wall, like delving into and trying to discover what happened in these historical cases of these child sexual abuses and stuff like that. And he was referring to Jimmy Savile, who's I don't know if you know, Razan, but he was like a TV presenter in the 1980s, and after he passed away, it turned out that he'd actually for decades been sexually assaulting children and grooming children, and it'd all been done and covered up by the local police and the show business industry that the producers and stuff that he worked with as well and stuff. It's been a cover up for decades. And Boris Johnson, he actually said in response to that, we don't want to spaff money up the wall investigating such cases. There's no need. It's just happened. You get on with it. Yeah, imagine. Yeah, I've completely forgotten about that. But that's a sort of because Boris Johnson he's still really popular. He's a bit like a Tommy Robinson figure in the sense that no matter what he does, people hail him as a hero. Yeah, that is just crazy. Yeah.
Sorry, Rose. Hi, Tamas. Sorry, I need to jump to a meeting, but thank you so much for having me. Thank
No,
you so
thank
much.
you.
Thank
It's always a
you.
pleasure. You take care, and I'll speak to you again soon. Take care.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye. Hi, Tamas. Bye.
Bye.
Well, yeah. They're just everywhere, aren't they? Everywhere.
Yeah, sorry. This has been such a depressing conversation. I didn't mean it to be, but it's just
I think it's educational for people to learn about this. So
yeah. But yeah, thank you for chatting because it's been really helpful. Yeah. But yeah, thank you for chatting because it's been really helpful.
yeah, exactly.
Oh,
Yeah, we've
you
got
don't,
at the
you don't,
moment.
yeah, you don't sound stressed and tired like a mum though.
I am. I am stressed and tired, but I just hide it very well.
Oh, okay. Oh, bless you. You sound like you sound so strong and with it and everything, and yeah. But you're enjoying being a mum.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It is. It's so rewarding. You know, when I first brought him home, I really, really struggled, like every first mum does.
Yeah.
And I didn't really know how to cope with it. But I just made it through it. And it seems so long ago now that he was so tiny, and I would give anything to go back and have that time again.
Oh. No, that's beautiful. Do you get, hopefully you have plenty of support around you as well.
I don't have much family left because they've all sadly passed. I've only got my mum.
Oh,
So, yeah, my mum's been a big help for whenever I've needed her. I mean, she even changed her work so that I could go back to work.
oh, that's good. That's lovely. I'm glad you've got your mum by you. But yeah, yeah, if I could help, I would. I love kids. I love other people's kids. I've never wanted my own, but I love having other people's kids to look after. But only when they're there. I went to Winter Wonderland for just after Christmas for my partner's birthday on New Year's Eve, and one of our friends, they came along with their little girl, and she's 5, and me and my partner, we're big kids, and yeah, it was great though, just spending time with her. It was absolutely lovely. But I think we love it more because we become more like big kids, and we get on the floor and play with them and stuff like that, and get
Oh, see,
involved.
I need somebody to do that for me because I'm knackered. Because honestly, while you've all been talking, and
Yeah.
I've actually been cooking baby's dinner. I've dealt with a phone call from work. I've just changed his nappy. He's now going to play. I'm going to put on some more films for him so I can get the washing in the kitchen done and wash my sides and that and clean my cooker down after I've done his dinner. I have like a set routine that I do every day.
Oh wow. I see. I don't see any of that. I just see you on TikTok as a little square, with the angry man face, and I don't see any of that. So, bloody hell, you do well, good. You do really bloody well because you're like a soldier.
Yeah,
Because
well, while I was on that live earlier, I was actually cleaning my kitchen.
oh wow, oh my god, oh it's brilliant. I can't do things like that. Oh wow. Sometimes I listen to a live and do housework, but I can't listen to a live, look at the comments, and be on the panel like you do while doing the housework. That is way too many things for me. So you're a fucking legend.
Honestly,
Yeah.
I find it really easy to start doing my housework if I'm actually doing something. So if I'm on a panel, or if
Yeah.
I'm listening to some music or something. I just find it easier.
Oh wow, you're friggin' amazing. Oh, I think you're great because I heard you on that live and you were just giving it to them really well. And I would
I
have
want
just,
taking their shit.
oh, exactly. Oh dear. Well, thank you. I'm gonna call it a day, but thank you so much. It's been really good to chat.
Yeah, it's
Um,
been educational for me as well, learning a few more things that I didn't know about. So thank you. I
yeah,
enjoyed
no,
it.
thank you. You take good care of yourself, and yeah, love you to bits, Pixel and Profit Be Yourself, and Sam if she's still here. I think she might have had to go back to work or something. But yeah, you all take care, and I'll speak to you again soon. But yeah, if you do need to chat privately, just message me and stuff like that, and I'll try and
Absolutely. And the same goes to you, and we all love you as well.
you take good care of yourself and bye.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.